Good morning, chat. My name is Penbu. I'm the programming, puzzle gaming, and music making VTuber on Linux, and today we are fansubbing. Finally figured out how to do this without getting into trouble and committing copyright infringement directly on stream. Carmen Komodo, Bob Bless, welcome in. Am I reading that right? Is that Bob BS? Okay, that's an I. Apologies there. Light, welcome in. But yes, today we're fansubbing. If you aren't aware, I am connected to the fansubbing circle, so I do know their techniques and whatnot. And today's stream will be here to spread the techniques of typesetting, and I'll explain what typesetting is later on. So Carbon Komodo, something like automatic subtitling software or something is very close, as Bobbius has mentioned here. ASS stands for Advanced Substation Alpha, an extension to the Substation Alpha format. I wasn't going to look into here, but I guess we can explore that a little bit. If I can find the file for this, open it into Vim. It's kind of difficult to read. Okay, let me open this one here. Switch profile streaming. And then we close this, and then we open this up into here. So ASS here, Advanced Substation Alpha, is V4 Plus. Older versions are not V4 Plus, but this is how you know it's an ASS format. So this here, the subtitle format that fansubbers use for anime. If you've ever looked at anime fansubs, the good ones will have some very fancy subtitles. And sometimes you won't even recognize that they're there. And hopefully we're going to make some subtitles like that as well. For once, actually, we're going to be using Aegisub for what it's actually meant for. If you've been here in some of my previous work streams, you'll see that I have been using Aegisub for various thumbnail purposes. Okay, this is where I should have prepped a little bit beforehand. Let me go find the logo that I have, because I do have that too. It's under assets, under logo, and then it is going to be this one. Once this thing loads. Aegisub does take a little bit of time to load. But I've been using Aegisub for things like logos and thumbnails and whatnot. For things that aren't necessarily what it's meant to be for, but you can use it for stuff like that. So this is the regular logo here. And then if we go down a little bit more... I don't know why my mouse wheel doesn't work here. There's a flat variant here, and then a monochrome variant, and then monochrome lights, and then one thing that I used in my debut video. Okay, well, let's move on to some of the examples. So if you were on Twitter earlier today, I had asked for fansubbers to give me examples of some typesetting, just so we can see what it is that we're going to be doing here, and the kinds of things that you could do. So we're just going to go down this list and appreciate all the typesettings. And I've asked them all to do to apply the source as well, so we know where they're all coming from. Angervol here. In order, Pizza's release of Sunny Boy episode 5 took about a week. GGM's Kaguya episode 5 and GGM's Bisque episode 10. Bobbius, are you Angerfall here? But okay, I guess we're starting with the best one, because this one is regarded as one of the best single typeset signs ever. So I guess we're going to start with the best, and then everything goes downhill from there, but they're all good. So this here is the original. And then this here is the typeset version. And this is all subs. These are all subtitles, by the way. They're all just done in ASS. But this, I believe, was coded in a script and then outputs as subtitles or as ASS, and then just put into the subs like that. But it's very impressive. I wish I had some to throw that way, but I'm primarily a song styler, not a typesetter. You will have your chance later, because part 2 of this stream, part 2 of the stream series is going to be karaoke. And so I'll put out another call for karaoke effects when the time comes. Does SpyFam's OP count actually? I don't actually know what that looks like. So you'll have to bring that up and see. But you know, if you want to put stuff in the thread afterwards, feel free to. For those of you who have not seen this yet, it is there. It's also in the description for VOD watchers. And then we have this here. See all these texts here. If you didn't know that this wasn't in English, you know, it's very convincing. This one can be ran with Ruby. The scripts are included in the release. If ran, it produces the animation and also is a client. Oh yes, okay, quines. That's how did you make that a quine? But yeah, that's very impressive. So there's that, and I think the original for this one is down here as well. It's in here. Okay, so this was the original. See all this Japanese text there, that all got replaced. GGM's Kaguya is very good, and actually anything that GGM does is very good in terms of typesetting. Oh, this fade is looks like it would be pretty annoying. So fades when they're masked. Masking is the technique where you get rid of the original and then put it back in, and that's all done generally through subtitles as well. You have the ability to draw shape over it, and so you draw, say, a white shape there. But the trouble with that is that if there's a fade, then it'll be obvious that you had masked it. It's kind of difficult to explain without showing it, but maybe we'll come across that later. Okay, Vavius. So I just pronounced your name right. All right. Do I have a very large delay here? No, I have it on low latency. Okay. And then there's this one. This one is from also from GGM. The Bisque Doll episode 10. We have this magazine here, and then the original is this. Pretty impressive stuff. It's as if it was actually made in English, and this is a very, very advanced typesetting. A lot of groups won't go to this level, but it shows the power of what you can do with this, where you can essentially recreate the entire thing just with subtitles. Now there are tools you can use. So oftentimes when you're doing something like this, you can reach out to something like Adobe Illustrator is a very common tool. Some people use Inkscape as well. You do the vector drawing, whatnot, in that tool, and there's a tool you can use to export those so that you can turn it and put it into your ASS file. I got one from Witchy Mary here. A ton of effort, even if I'm not 100% happy with the end results. Source is MTBB Monogatari series off in Monster Season episode 6. I think I dropped off the Monogatari series after Owari S1. Don't remember why. I think I was waiting for Kami or something, and then I just kind of dropped it. So this is the original here. See that all this Japanese text, all handwritten, and that as well. And then to the typeset version, again, this one is masked, so you don't see the original. and then that's replaced with a font that looks very similar. Lights of note is that even with those tools, you can't copy them 100% perfectly due to ASS limitations, so often you must still perform some degree of cleanup after the fact. Indeed, ASS is a very limited format, and lots of workarounds have been made to get around those, but even then, it's still not all that perfect. It's not a font, it's handwritten. Oh, interesting. So I guess in this case, this was drawn in something like Illustrator or Inkscape, and then traced and then imported. Okay, that's even better because that lends a bit of extra realism to it. Very good. One here from Symphonic Nonsense. Bunch of repetitive work. Typesetting is often very, very repetitive. And involves a lot of tracking too. There's a lot of motion, and motion tracking can be pretty annoying, but we do have tools that allow us to motion track. So for example, a lot of fansubbers use Mocha with Blender as an alternative, and we might be pulling out Blender today. So this is the original. Seems like it's non-driven in motion. And then here's the replaced one, again masked, which means we've replaced the original. In this case, masking this isn't too difficult because it's mostly just solid colors. But I think the motion here is what can be annoying, especially since the motion doesn't follow the background. You actually have to track the text here. In more extreme cases, even doing decent motion tracking itself can be a real skill, indeed. And there are lots of times where you either have to smooth out the motion track that you get from the tools, or even just do it in pieces and do it somewhat manually too. So this one is from the release Yamete Tomete. I don't remember. Magia Record episode 4. I've not seen this show yet. I got one from Yarther here. Don't have many clips here. Some. So Kaleido's Atri, My Dear Moments, episode 3. Yamano Tomato. Okay. And then we also have the original. So this here is a book. Books can be pretty annoying, especially if they bend. This one doesn't look too bad, although there's a lot going on here. And perspective is always a pain. Yes, Kaleido. Kaleido, is that how you pronounce it? I mean, I guess kaleidoscope is how you pronounce that, but I always read it as Kaleido. Kaleido, okay. There was the original here somewhere that I put... Oh, I didn't even see this one. I'm gonna go find the other one first. All these tabs. It was this one somewhere. There was a reply here. I can't even find it. Okay, whatever. Oh, maybe that one was the one that didn't have the clip. I know there was another one here. But in any case, we can go find that one later. Next one, all these tweets, comments. This one I think is fairly simple. If you mask the original text, you can put in pretty much whatever you want and whatever, and just match the style here. And then you have the ability to clip over other text like this. So if you look here, the text cuts off. You can clip this text out, and so that it doesn't appear later, or pass the shape. Or this one seems like it could be simple enough to recreate, but then you have all these images, and you wouldn't really want to recreate those. So if we look at the original, if I can find it. I don't know where it went. Oh, here it is. So this is the original book. You have all these Japanese characters there. And so this one required a lot of, if you look at the other one back, required a lot of redrawing, so you have to redraw this yellow bit, you have to redraw this white bit, and then you add the text on top. And then also this bit here. That's all Japanese there. Okay, so the inside of the book wasn't typeset, but sometimes you make those kinds of shortcuts. If I had time and energy, I'd dig through a Joshinaka release, tons of stuff there. Absolutely, that was a good release. Okay, and then we had later on here, scrolling timeline. This one is, on the surface, it seems fairly simple. Conceptually, you would like make a very long list of, or make a long image, but that's not how you'd actually implement it. You go through, so for example, you're tracking this post here. You have to follow that through for its entire time that it's on, and then it disappears when it's out of frame. That's the original here. So basically, you keep, I guess you keep the avatars, but you get rid of all this text here. You mask over it, and then you put your own text on top. Oh no! Okay, what I mentioned earlier about curved paper and motion capture. This looks pretty annoying to do. It's fairly simple, but perspective, and especially curved perspective, can be pretty difficult to do. Thankfully here it's very small, so any issues with the text isn't going to be too noticeable. But this also looks like it's very well done. I don't see any major issues with that. So this was the original for this one. And I don't think we have the paper here. GN's free for the movie. Yeah, so we don't have the original for that one. But I can imagine it's probably just some. It looks very similar here. Would probably have Japanese handwritten text there as well. Most shortcuts are also not going to be super visible during actual playback, which is also an important consideration when deciding when where to cut corners. Indeed, there is a lot of newer typesetters will often want to get like every frame to be correct and to be exact, whereas what really matters is what happens in motion, and perhaps we'll see some of that when we do ours as well. Yeah, this one's very good. I had a couple more. I'm gonna refresh here. Okay, there were some other ones here. I'm trying to remember where. I think Witchy Mary had. Oh yes, another one. Predates envelope distort. Oh, okay. So for context for the rest of you, envelope distort was a new automation in which you can like create a rectangle of sorts and then distort the rectangle. Or I think it was generally a shape. But that one would have had to have been done by hand if it was before that tool came out. So here we have Kubikiri Cycle. Looks like a title card, which doesn't seem like there's anything. Doesn't seem like there's anything here that really stands out, but that's the point of typesetting there. And then we have here the original, and you can see that this entire logo got replaced. And so how might you do that? Yeah, the background had to be redrawn, exactly. We step through... Okay, something is playing audio. Is this one it? Yeah, so we have to step through here. Thankfully, the background is not that, I mean, relatively speaking, not that difficult to redraw, because all you have to do is redraw these solid parts here. So it makes it a lot easier when they're solid, although you do have some gradients here and here that make it a little bit more difficult to redraw. But it's not impossible. It's certainly a lot simpler than some other ones that you might encounter. Yeah, and then here we have a fade-in effect for the background, and then some slight scaling down as it settles into place. Okay, did I miss any? Right, I have the 0x539 signs, which he posted over Discord, because he didn't get to see the thread in time. So here we have Unicamp Season 2. I think it's Season 2 anyway, because I don't recognize this, and I haven't seen Season 2 yet. So you have the before, with that scroll there, and then the after. You have all this text. Again, the original is masked, so you don't see the Japanese. And then scroll up. So the scroll up, I think you can do with motion tracking. So much Kaleido. I don't think you released Season 2 yet, have you? Or at least didn't finish it. I think I'm still waiting. But yeah, GGM and Kaleido do a lot of good typesetting. I think Damidesio DDY also joins that group, that set of groups as well. So here we have some watches. This was from, he sent the source here. Where was it? It is from Yoru wa Nijikashi Arukeyo Tome. There's the UI seam was somewhat typesetting adjacent. Oh yeah, yes, okay. I'll have to go find that in the replies because I did see that one as well. Yeah, so I have those watches there. And then here we have the watch faces replaced with English. And this one is particularly annoying because of the hands. So you either redraw the hands, or you find a way to clip them. And then here we have a logo for, what was this called? Actually, no, we'll find out in the next one. So this here is the logo, and then here is the redrawn logo, symboling the forest spirit. So if you go back to the other one, there's this here, and that got redrawn. So the background here got redrawn to mask the logo over here, and then the silhouettes got redrawn to move it over here, and then some text was added over here, matching the style of the text around here. To and no being similar in function to and the in English. And then one from Maid Dragon, I think Season 1. Have all this text in the background. Scrolling past. And then have all that replaced with English and also scrolling past. I think the script was written to handle all this scrolling as well. Well, the annoying part about this is that... Oh, hold up. We're not getting there yet. So this features a zoom out, which is already in itself somewhat annoying. And then we've got some movement over here. And then some movement over here. Mr. E, welcome in. Yes, these are all fan examples from the fansubbing community. Some of them are in this chat right now. And then here's the ever so famous rock.ass. where you have the original and you have the masked version. No text was added on here, but this famously, or perhaps infamously, had grown to be hundreds of megabytes. It was in Fansubbing Wiki. It's a very large ASS file containing an unoptimized typeset sign of a rock from Unicamp Season 2. It was done using Critters content aware fill, which is a technique that some fansubbers will use and abuse. And the resulting file was around 800 megabytes, or as Light here says, around 750. But yeah, this one was pretty large. And it gained notoriety in the fansubbing circles for its large size. Okay, let's try to find that Yatsuda one. This one, most recent. So that was that. Then we have this. Was it here? It was probably in a reply. Oh yeah, I forgot. We still have all these ones to do too. So all these static ones. So this one was also masked. A lot of texture needed to be redone here. And then this is a retype set of a screenshot of a website in the anime. And then we have the deer here. I think the notable thing about this one is all the highlights, because the highlights aren't really something you normally get with the text. You'd have to put that in yourself. And these look like non-trivial highlights. So for somebody looking at this without typesetter eyes, this looks like it's a fairly simple sign, and you know, it's not even masking the original, which not all signs have to mask the original, but sometimes it is a bit cleaner. In this case, I think it works fine without the masking, but the highlights there are definitely not something you'd achieve just by doing regular techniques. So I do have to wonder how this was done. Maybe it was through shapes. Sometimes you do have to do some manual work like that. And then another look at this book. So this is the original for the book, and then this is the original for the site, and then a finished version of the site. So it's mostly the Japanese text here that was removed and masked, and then some text added down here. And then this was the original for the school sign. When and where to mask is always up for debate too. I'm a serial masker, for example, but I know many typesetters are anti-maskers. Yeah, I whenever I've done certain scenes in the past, sorry, I forgot what I was going to say. Yeah, so whenever I looked at certain scenes in the past, sometimes you have enough text, have enough room to fill in the original, or to fill in your typeset version, and sometimes you don't have enough space. So one of the heuristics here is, do you have a lot of space to put your stuff in? If so, then maybe consider not masking, but also at the same time, maybe it looks cleaner to mask. But at the same time, masking does present a few problems, which we may or may not encounter when we do Seishun Archive. And perhaps that effort just doesn't make it worth it to mask. Even if you have enough space, sometimes it can still look very off, yes. Okay, now we're gonna have to find, there was one here. If someone can find this in the threads, you can link it in the Discord, which you can join there if you're not already in there. Bot, there you go. Oh, here it is, here it is. Quick late addition, no signs. This one showcased another less common use of typesetting. Here's a scene edited to offer an experience closer to the original language, as the message dialogue in the first clip is rather difficult to parse. Unfortunately, I can't show the audio here, but you can imagine what it might sound like. And you can go to the thread too and listen for it yourself. There's a lot of chatter going on over here. So these are all the this here's the subs, dialogue subs. It's very fast. There's a lot of chaos. And then we go over here. All right, we have all of these where it was speech bubbles instead. Which these I don't know if I would call these dialogue shenanigans. But it is definitely a valid way of presenting dialogue, and this is quite literally typesetting, where you're setting the type of text. Yeah, I think this was a good decision too. PM used some similar fun ones. Remember, know what's coming. I might remember. Are you talking about dialogue shenanigans? We might go over that. I don't think we'll have any dialogue shenanigans for ours, because ours is going to be more KFX based or karaoke based than dialogue. But we'll see. Maybe we'll get some interesting things for our typeset signs. I'm just checking what this. That's that one. I know, but similar stuff is going on in that clip. Okay, so now we can move on to, unless you're already DMing me, okay. Oh, yes, okay. Did you want me to show this on stream? Because I can do that. Alright, so let's have a look at that. So this here is from the opening of Kaleido's Joshidaku, where it's not dialogue, but it is in the song. They say like "fine, here goes," or at least that's the way they translated it. And so this is also another similar way of doing that. And to typeset this one, because this is all typeset too, right? This is typeset. So instead of masking this and putting up with the pain that goes with masking this, I can just put it off to the side here. Note that this is done horizontally and not vertically. But also over here we have the bubbles, the speech bubbles, which are done as shapes. And then you have the text in the middle as well. Hi, in this case, an extra neat thing is we also reuse here is that characterization to come up with different lines to stick there for different characters in different scenes. Yes, that is also I don't think we're going to be covering translation in here. We will be working with some translated text, but we won't be covering translation theory. But one thing to note going off of that is that words can mean different things in different contexts, and a hi will not always mean yes, and very often does not. And sometimes it means no too. So if you ever come across anyone who says hi is always yes, maybe either don't listen to them or educate them. They're often somebody who knows a little bit of Japanese, but not enough to really know why things are, or to know that things aren't always so one-to-one. Everyone goes through that phase. I went through that phase at one point. But you get over it as long as you continue learning. Okay, so I think we can get rid of this now. Probably going to use some tabs here, like Fansubbing Wiki. So we're going to make use of some of that. This was the thumbnail in the for the stream. We're not making subs like this. This was a joke. Old Fansubs had yellow text, the black outline. Some subs, I guess nowadays, you might find the rare one. People tend to stick to white. Nobody uses Comic Sans anymore. But there were some older Fansubs that did use Comic Sans. But Moving on to our actual material here is Seishun Archive. This is by hololive. This was for, I think there was a summer 2023 events that they had. Very good song. It's fully animated. It's basically an anime opening, and so it makes it very very fitting for us to do it today. Okay, let me just turn off the background music. Now we can go ahead and watch this.
信じ合う仲間と一緒に挑戦ののろしを上げよう終わらない青春に僕が集中し忘れてヘイジャンみんなで揃えろくんじゃんじゃん光る水滴こぼれ落ちて青春感じているモーション成長した姿を見せたいリハは完璧本番はもっと全力でハイハイ大切な思い出たくさんあるけどねまだ感傷に浸ってる暇はない今世紀最大の夏が始まる想像の果てにある高み勝ち取った景色は尊い逃げるな限界の壁越えて僕らはまだチャレンジャー冷たい声に溺れたってかすかな望みを手繰り寄せるように期待外れだと誰かが嘆く痛いと痛いがいつも戦うプライドだけを頼りに抗う自分を信じたい努力は報われる笑いたいやつは笑ってろ感傷に浸ってる暇はない今世紀最大の夏が始まる反響が足りないもっともっと後悔はさせない想像の果てにある高み勝ち取った景色は尊い逃げるな限界の壁越えて僕らはまだチャレンジャー
Such a good song. But I will refrain from talking about the music because that's going to be the next time. Today we are focused on typesetting. We're going to go through this and look at all the signs that we might have to typeset. The subs, by the way, are from the official YouTube video. And as you notice, it is all karaoke timed and all that. T-chan, who does the subtitles for this, is known to use Aegisub, and he's probably using YT sub converter to get this all done. So we have some. So this one, I'm gonna hide the subs here. This one we don't need to do because we have Seishun Archive down here. If you wanted to be really, really fancy, you could rewrite this and then have the English be handwritten and have Japanese down here. But that's a ton of effort. We're not doing that. And then the stuff in the background is all English already, so we don't need to deal with that. This is all English too, so no need to touch that. Up here is all numbers, that's fine. Here, we're going to be typesetting Ankimo's name tag, and we're going to make it horizontal. So that's going to require some masking over here, doing a bit of redraw for the shadow, but also the label. Trying to find a font. Half of the stream is probably going to be finding a font. And then putting up with this movement nonsense. I don't know if this is going to be easy to track. We might just have to do this manually. So that's all good there. There's this little sign over at the left side. We're going to be doing that. That one should be pretty easy. And then we have this this handwritten sign here. By the way, I've been saying sign as if you all know what I'm talking about. Sign in fansubbing parlance means basically anything that's not dialogue. So even if it's not a literal sign, anything like this, whether it's on paper or a little sign like what we saw earlier, or if it's somebody's name tag, those are all what we call signs. So we're gonna have to do a bit of translation for this one, and then we're probably going to be maybe redrawing this, or maybe we'll just put it up here. Depends on how lazy I feel. So we're gonna have to find a handwritten font for that one, and make it rough sketch. So we'll apply some effect technique, something like that. I don't think we need to deal with this one. This is a bit too small to really see, so we're probably okay with that. I don't even know what it says anyway. I might say Nihon something, but I can't make it out, so we can just leave that as is. And then if you notice the text over here at the top in the book, we're probably also going to skip that. This is also pretty unreadable anyway. If we really wanted to, we can replace this with some sort of Easter egg in the English, and a lot of groups will take advantage of that if it's easy to do. Put in some sort of Easter egg. I know Dame Desio had done like a recruitment ad for typesetters in I think it was Dragon Maid Season 2, something like that. Something I forgot to mention before, but another benefit of masking is that you have to worry less about matching the original sign exactly, as it's no longer on screen. Yes. I think one of the troubles with masking this one is that we'd have to redraw the lines. So we'll see about this one. DDY, Chihiro, and Kaleido have all done the recruitment poster thing. Nice. We can I don't know about this one. Consistency says that we should do this one, at least because we're going to make it horizontal. But also this is small enough that it doesn't matter. We're probably going to skip this one. This is thankfully in English already. This is in English, so we don't have to deal with that. And we had mentioned earlier about Studio is not getting perspective right, and this is kind of not consistent. I can't tell. We're definitely going to have to deal with this though down here if we're going to be typesetting Ankumo's name tag. So that's going to be a bit of a pain too. But thankfully we don't have to deal with the one up here. Okay, yeah, we're gonna have to do that one too. That's the thing with typesetting. If you want to stay consistent, if you choose a sign to typeset, you have to typeset it throughout the entire thing, where reasonable. If you want to stay consistent, and some people don't care. They'll typeset it the first time and then they'll just let the viewer figure it out afterwards. But if your goal in typesetting is to make a seamless and coherent experience for the viewer, then you'd want to make sure that you stay consistent. We have this down here. I'm gonna take that out. We have this. I don't actually know what this says, but we can probably find the contents reference sheet to figure out what it does say. Thankfully, this is all very linear in terms of movements, so that it should be fairly easy. The only potentially difficult part about this is the curved text, but I think we'll probably be okay with that. And then this, I don't think we have to touch because hololive summer 2023 is exactly what it says over here. So that already has a translation. And then the rest of this is already in English too, as well as this here. So we're not touching this, thankfully. We should be okay. This QR code probably works. And then I zoom in over here. Again, thankfully nothing to do here. So the exit sign has no text, so we're okay there. Did that? Oh, no, okay, so that doesn't have any text there. Freeze frame bonus. Thankfully all numbers in English, so we're okay. This is also in English, Inokami Fubuki, handgun 0809. As you can see in that logo already, you can always do different styling. It just has to blend in and not be as distracting. Indeed, so that's another thing that a lot of new typesetters don't realize yet, is that as long as it blends in, you can do whatever you want. It doesn't have to match exactly what the original is, as long as it makes it look like it was part of the scene naturally. This one I am debating about doing. We might, if I'm feeling adventurous, because this is pretty much the same translation as what we get here. You already know that this says fish. I don't need to restate that this says fish here. This says in full fish corner. So in theory we could translate it, but also it says fish here, so I think it would be redundant to translate it there. What we could do, if we were feeling adventurous, is to put a picture of a fish in here. But that would require finding a fish. But I think that would probably be better in this case. Something to consider with that fish sign too is though that even if a translation is available right next to it, the viewer may not realize that and think it's an untranslated sign. Yes. So the viewer will often not, unless they know Japanese, in which case they'll be able to spot it. They'll often, if they can't read it, then they don't know that this necessarily is the translation for this. And so there are many cases where you want to translate something that might be somewhat redundant, just so that the viewer knows that that is indeed the translation for it. So yes, in this case, I don't want to leave this as is, but we have two options here. We can either replace it with an image of a fish, or we can replace it with the actual text that it translates to. These are all unreadable, so I think we're okay there. This is technically readable, and we can probably figure out what these are, but well, actually this potato chips bag we might have to do. But the rest of it I think we might be able to leave as is. And then we have karaoke as a sign. This here is the some of the lyrics. I think it's the first line of Shiny Smiley Story. Text-based sign in a non-text-based and into non-text-based signs are always really funny. It can be so effective depending on the sign. Yeah, so I think I do want to turn that into a fish, but we'll see. So this we'll probably do this one last, just because it transitions nicely into us doing karaoke at the end. Whether we actually implement this with Ask Karaoke remains to be seen, because it isn't necessary, but it could be helpful to do it that way instead. This one has no text in these translation. We have this down here, but that's all English text. This is all English too. Same poster as before, so no need there. This one, I think we're gonna have to do. Or, I don't know, maybe not. We should probably do this one. We should probably do this stuff in the background here. I don't know if we need to necessarily do this one. We could probably figure out what this says, because this is a real train station. Thank God that poster is already in English enough, yeah. Oh man, if we had to typesetting that poster, we'd be here for days. Actually, this is probably going to end up being, like the typesetting for all this is probably going to spread out. Now that I'm looking at it, probably over 2 or 3 streams. I don't think we're getting it done today. We're already an hour in and we haven't started yet. And then these are the lyrics for Kiseki Not. Thankfully, this is actually all fairly easy. There is a little bit of... I take that back. We're going to have to redraw this bit. If we're masking this. So this might be a bit of a pain to do. But I think it's all fairly repetitive. So like this frame is the same as this frame right here, so we could probably repeat some stuff. The base isn't going to change. We are going to have to clip around her hand here in the pen, and then add in a shadow. So we'll see about that. And then another thing that complicates this is that ASS doesn't have any layer modes. It doesn't have blending modes. It only has opacity. So good luck if you want multiply, which is generally what you want for shadows. And then we have this, which if we're going to do it in the previous one, we're going to have to do it here too. That's a lot of distortion. Not looking forward to that one. Okay, and then this is a very, very easy sign. Right here, right here. I don't think that has any transparency, so this is fairly standard as signs go. So is this one. So I think if you were to start off with anything, this would be the one to start with. Armbands are typically skipped exactly because they're so frequent and often a pain to TS. Yes, but I think in this case it only shows up 3 separate times. So hopefully we'll be okay. But yeah, if you were subbing an anime, they show up extremely frequently, and you do not want to be typesetting all of those. And I think from here we're probably okay, because this here doesn't require any typesetting. This is all English. And then I think the rest of it is just a dance sequence. Petsuko had to stop me from TSing all the armbands in Blue Archive because he knew I would actually go do it. Yeah, I gotta keep yourself sane there. But one thing typesetters aren't known for is their sanity, so... Flashbacks to Joshidaku helmets. Ooh. I think I remember that episode. So this finishes off the dance sequence, and then after this, I think we cut to credits. Yeah, and then we cut to credits. We could do this, but I don't think I saw a complete list of credits, so we might not. Fansubs these days generally don't have credits. They don't have credits translated. One, because they're a bit of a pain to do. There's a lot of text here. But two, often you don't have a complete list of people. So I did look in NEDB, and there are some, but there are also some that are not translated, and it doesn't look like... I don't think everyone was on here. So we might just end up skipping the entire credits. But if we were to do it, what I would do is I would mask this entire thing. So start with blue here, do this little gradient here, and then just redo all of the text. Not just that, you also have to consider how to Romanize them. Yes, names in particular are especially difficult because some names are Romanized with the old way with the O and H, for example, or some of them are with OU, some of them are just O, and some of them, if you're looking at just the text, sometimes you have different readings for these names and you don't know which one it is. But yeah, so if we were to do this, then it would be a mask of the entire thing and then just redo the text in a similar way. And in that case, you wouldn't have to change. You wouldn't have to use the same font, as long as it's close enough to. Looking at this, it's probably a FontWorks font, fairly common in anime. And then you have this, in which case, you know, you kind of hope that your mask is close enough. And then you just cut out this part so that it peeks through, and then you just do this. Or if you're feeling really adventurous, you could attempt to redraw this, but the cover logo itself looks like it would be pretty difficult to recreate. In fact, I'm pretty sure that font's used there as an open source FontWorks font. Okay, if you find it, let me know, because we might be able to use that then. As I'm sticking only to free and open source fonts here. Fansubbers don't care, they will just pick a font wherever they find it. But in this case, we are trying to be a little bit more legitimate, so we have to use fonts that we are actually allowed to use, which does restrict our selection a little bit, but we also have a lot of fonts at our disposal. Found it PMing. Okay, let me see what you have here. Oh, okay. Well, let's do a comparison here. I didn't realize I had open source fonts. I thought they were all closed. But okay, great. If this is in Google Fonts, then I should have this one already. Turn on our scripts there. And we're looking at, say, Honeyworks or CG, or let's type that in actually, Honeyworks. Capital W. It's not quite this. I don't think it's this one. It's a different N there. I think the W is also somewhat different, but it's mostly the N and the E. It's very close, but I don't think it's this one. That's not to say that we couldn't use it, because it is close enough. Look at guitar. Yeah, so this one is pretty telling. This one has a triangular tittle. Is that what the dot on the eye is called? Whereas this one is round. Yeah, we'll keep this one in mind because I think we can potentially use this one. Good old once mask no longer has to be styled exactly the same as the original. Exactly. But yeah, we'll see if we end up doing their credits. I doubt we will. But we can get started. No, we're not going to use this one. Let's start a new one. I'm just taking off my headphones here because I don't need them anymore. And then we can load in the video. Now I said the one we were going to do first was probably going to be that watermelon one. So that one's pretty easy. We just have to find the fonts for it. This is later on. Oh, over here, okay. That is around 2:08. By the way, for any of you who aren't familiar with the ways of fansubbing, please do ask questions. I am here to answer questions. This is supposed to be a learning experience. And if you would like to follow along, the link to the original video is in the description. So you can just download that and load into Aegisub and you're good to go. Okay. So I think normally you'd start off with creating keyframes. I forgot to get the script to create keyframes onto this computer, so I don't have them. So we're just going to have to work without them. Keyframes, actually this one looks like it's probably mostly okay anyway. So all these black lines here, each of those are a keyframe. And a keyframe is in a video where you have a complete frame. So when you're encoding a video, at least for lossy formats like MP4 or H265, 264 rather, which is what this one is, you generally what you have is what's called an iframe, which would be it's almost like a keyframe, where you have a complete frame, and then subsequent frames after that would only be differences to those frames. And then once in a while you get another iframe so that you don't get corruption. And then keyframes in this sense would be where your scene changes, where are the places where the visuals change drastically enough that it's worth having a point where you have a complete frame or a marker there. Okay, so we're going to start off with this one. We're going to mask this. We're going to mask this as well. But I think we might start off with the logo up here. So this says, where did that go? The thing about Aegisub is sometimes it just puts windows in odd places. I'm gonna have to hunt for that window somewhere. I think I just lost it. Put this back here. Oh, it's over here. And there's a good chance that Aegisub will crash, because it does tend to do that sometimes. You can, if you're following along, this is video detached video. I have this set on a keybind because it is something that I do tend to do fairly often. All right, so now we're gonna have to translate this one. Guru-chan to suika watari translates roughly to Gura and the watermelon. How do we usually translate that? The watermelon breaking something? It's a Japanese summer pastime where you're blindfolded, you get spun around, you have a stick with you, and you're trying to hit the watermelon and break it. Suika watari. What do they call this one? Suika wari? Okay, suika wari. watermelon splitting. I think we might call that melon splitting with Gura. Potentially. Okay, so whenever I start off here, I go to the styles manager and put in some new styles. I have a sign style. Mostly left as default. Left 0, right 0, vertical 0. These are all the vertical, left, right, and vertical margins. And then you have here the alignment. So you're anchored to the top left, top center, top right, and so on and so forth. For signs, for text, usually I have that in the middle. And then outline 0, shadow 0, so that you don't have to deal with outlines and shadows. And then the rest can be left as is. And then I have another one. I tend to have a separate one for masks. Also, shadow passage is 0. Yeah, I think it is 0 by default, but that is good to note. So do this. And then for masks, I tend to have it alignment 7 because drawings make the most sense when they're aligned to their top left. So I have that as default there. Otherwise, it's the same as the sign style. Usually people miss it because they copy dialogue style, which typically does have a non-zero element for shots. Yes. In this case, we don't actually have any dialogue styles, so I think we won't have any issues there. I actually don't do that myself. I usually do just create new styles for these, but I can see why, because there is a recommendation that for your signs to show up, you actually do have to make sure that you have the fonts available. Sometimes they do show up even when you do have the fonts, or even when you don't have the font. But to minimize issues, the font that you specify in your style, you should always have. And so a lot of people will copy the default dialogue stylings to make sure that they use the dialogue fonts, which is always going to be there. In this case, we don't have any dialogue. It's going to be karaoke, which we will be doing some other time. Always package all your fonts. Yes. I have been victim to that sometimes too. But now we have subkt, and I guess other people use mux tools as well, which makes it a little bit easier to, or a little bit harder to miss packaging fonts, because it checks it for you. Okay, so those are our two styles. This one is going to be in the sign style. And now we're going to have to find a font for this. So if any of you have any font suggestions, let me know. But this looks like a fairly standard rounded corner sans serif font. So I can open up my font manager here and find out what font in my very large list of well, I guess this isn't actually all that large, but relatively large here. Let's see what we have. Like I said, half the stream is probably going to be finding fonts, because that's where everyone has trouble with. Do I have font matrix here? I do not. I didn't because it's an AUR package, but I think it might be helpful here. I'm going to go install that. True TS challenge, finding any decent fonts. Yes. Okay, font matrix. Font matrix gives me a grid of fonts to work with, rather than a list like this, so it's a little bit easier. But give me a bit while I install this. Yes, please do remove make dependencies. It is currently installing dependencies, but anyway, we can find a font here. Race, welcome in. I've downloaded thousands of fonts and barely used any of them. That sounds accurate. I have a tendency to collect fonts as well. I'm trying to make sure I don't collect too many fonts on this machine, mostly because I don't need them. And I have to make sure that the fonts that I do get are free to use. So I can't just grab any fonts. I'm gonna skip all those B's. Because this is having trouble and I can't have that. Alternatively, we can look at some, because I do have the entire Google Fonts collection. So we can just look at Google Fonts. I'm gonna move this out of the way. Do you have some sort of filter? Sans serif. It's not quite handwriting. So we're looking for something that has rounded corners. Poppins does not. Go back. Some font managers do have very detailed filters. Seems like this one doesn't. But then again, not all fonts have that implemented properly anyway, so. I swear I had one. But this is... Yeah, this one looks pretty decent, I think. We zoom in. These look pretty round. It is a little bit thin. You look over here. We are looking for something that could be a little bit more square-ish, but also it's square-ish because it's Japanese. Japanese characters tend to be more square. So we don't necessarily have to have something that's square, but I think we can start with this one. You can always use Shad Trick or use Full Bold. We could, and we will see if we need that. Okay. Actually, I don't need this one anymore, so I'm going to close that. We also don't need this one anymore. But I will leave a terminal around just in case we need it. There are times where I'll open up the sub file in Vim and then do some Vim stuff because Vim macros are a thing and they tend to be pretty helpful. Okay, but what did we say here? This was one out of two of these. Oh, right, because that's the actual video. We're going to move this one out of the way too because we don't need that. This is Dosis, which we probably do actually have. Okay. We're looking at maybe Dosis semi-bolds. Okay. So here in Aegisub, you have your text window. This is where your text goes. This is your styles drop-down, actor and effects. Those are mostly for information. There are some tools that will use these, but for the most part, they're freeform and they're just there for you. Effect technically has something special on it, but you aren't going to be running into that. This is the layer, which we'll make use of later. Start time, end time, or start time, end time, and I think this is duration, which is more calculated from the start and end time. Left margin, right margin, and vertical margin. Not particularly useful unless you're working with dialogue, so we're going to be ignoring these. And then we have the formatting here. Bold, italics, underline, strike through fonts. We can use the font here. And then your four colors. So, going to the documentation just to show this off. Actually, maybe not the documentation. We're going to show it off here. so we're going to start with the fonts. We're going to put this one here. Normally, I think I would just generally type it in if I know what the font name is. Dosis semi-bold. And I think that put it... Oh, right, because we need to make sure that it's within the frame right now. So this is the start. Oh, no, I missed it. Here, I'll find that again. Ah, it's too far. Is it here? Can't even name a single release that uses the effect field for its intended purpose. I don't think you would come across anything that uses that for its intended purpose, because you get things like banner. I don't remember how to use this, but there are certain keywords that are recognized, do certain text effects, and they're supported in at least in libAS, I think, for legacy purposes. But also in VS Filter for legacy purposes. How do I mute this? I think I muted with this. The control arrow key might come useful jump between frames, yeah. And I don't know why that, okay. You see, I don't have keyframes set up. So that's, actually, I don't know where the keyframes went, because we only saw it here. But yeah, that's not working for me for some reason. Yeah, control arrow key is not working for me. Try shift. Ah, shift does it, yes. So we're gonna go ahead and go over here and shift all the way over to this bit. Okay. So I'm going to press Control 3, which gets me to here, and then I'm going to find the endpoint of this, where the sign disappears, which is usually the next keyframe over, and then we're going to do Control 4 to see it over here. So notice here, this here is the audio window, but it's also where you can visualize the timing of the line. So all these purple lines here, these are all keyframes, and then your line is the one that's highlighted here, and then this is where your line ends. It's interesting that this keyframe doesn't line up, but that's where it ends, so we're going to put it over here. You want to make sure that when you're timing signs, that you are frame perfect, because otherwise your signs might spill over into previous or later frames, and you don't want that happening. And for the most part, this is static, so we don't have to deal with it moving or anything like that. So we can just leave that as is. We have a couple of potential choices, like design choices we can do here. Bring this back here. Hope this doesn't crash. We're going to be making this black so that we can see it a little bit better. Later on, we're going to make it the actual colors. And then we're going to move this over here so that we can actually see it. Funny enough, timing signs properly is one of the things I see most newbie typesetters mess up in the typesetting tests. Oh, interesting. I would have thought that would be, well, I guess they get focused too much on making the sign good, and they forget that it's actually temporal. So this is a case actually where we can decide not to do anything with it and just have it like this. So one thing you should always put on your signs is add blur, and you do that with the blur tag here. So the AS format, you have your text, and then you can do overrides for formatting with these curly braces here. And then inside those curly braces, you have things starting with backslashes. These are your tags. So in this case, and I hope this is big enough. If it isn't big enough, let me know and I can make it larger, hopefully. So in this case, we have the FN tag for fonts, and then it takes an argument for the font name. B for bolds, bold 0. Don't make it bold. I think we can just leave that off. And you have C here, which takes in a hex color, but it's not hex like you see in HTML. It's not RGB, it's BGR. So you have to be careful with that if you're going to be working with it by hand. And then you have pause, which is the position, and this is the coordinates, so X and Y. And that corresponds to your anchor point there. So remember earlier where in the style we had alignment 5. So that means the center of this text is where this position is going to be. And then I'm going to be manually adding in a blur tag. You usually can start with 1. I don't know if you can see the difference there. This is 0, this is 1. Usually you want to add a bit of blur just to make sure that it blends in, because a lot of the text in the frames will almost always have some blur applied to them, whether because of encoding artifacts or just because they don't want to make it too sharp, and so you also have to make sure it's not too sharp. Just going back in chat here. To be fair, part of it is also intentional. We pre-time signs, but they should absolutely double check that. Kind of catches people aren't paying full attention. I've never actually done a typesetting test, so I don't know what people do in that. But yeah, I guess it makes sense to pre-time signs, because then you'd be focused on the actual typesetting. But as you say, it is important to make sure that the timing of these signs is set properly. I can also turn on tooltips in the options to see all of the options and parameters. That is probably a good idea for learning purposes here. I personally don't need it, but you know, whenever you're doing a teaching stream, you always want to make sure that things are in place to make it easier for the audience. All right, now remember where this is. It's an interface. Is it enable call tips? Yes, there it is. Okay. So as we see here, font name, color, pause X and Y, their strength, and the text. So in terms of a sign, this is fine. I think this is mostly fine. Like it's fine. We're gonna make it more fancy than this. You can see an example of overloads with backslash T. Yeah, so T can take up to four parameters here, and depending on what it is, it can have all those overloads. We'll probably use T later, probably. That's where I am now, so I'm going to hop off. Good luck with typesetting. Well, thank you, and just have a good sleep. Thanks for dropping by. So yeah, we could really just leave it at that. I think we will leave that as an option. So we're, but I don't think that's what we're going to do. Just because we do want to show off the actual typesetting skills here. So melon splitting with Gura is what we said. And so melon splitting here is this green here. Strictly speaking, this is this has a gradient on it. We can leave gradients for later, but I gotta pull up the GIMP here. Kill GIMP. Because I already have it open somewhere else. So I'm turning up GIMP here. Discard. I don't need that. Discard. I'm pulling up the GIMP here because it has better color picking. Aegisub does have its own color picker. So say we have here, we set the fill color, right? You do have this, but sometimes it doesn't work. But also, you're only restricted to a single pixel. Whereas in the GIMP, well, actually, in this case, a single pixel might be fine. Copy the image to clipboard with no subtitles. All right, I'll move this out of the way. All right, we can go in here and take the color picker. Turn up the radius a little bit so that we get more pixels, but not so much that we go out of bounds with this. So I think in our case 2 is probably okay. And then you can take an average of these colors. Like around here, we can take this, and then we can set that to be our color in here. Making sure to put this in the HTML box here, and then we have that. And then we do the same thing with the border and the shadow. I don't actually want this as banner. So the way to think about this, the sign is in layers. So there's the fill layer, and then there's the outline layer, and then you have the shadow layer. I'm going to duplicate this and then make this bigger so that we can actually see things. FS, let's say 200 for 100. Let's put that over here. So demonstration of the colors here. So we have the fill. Let's make that red, just so we can see it. Then we have the second color, which isn't actually used except in karaoke, so normally you can ignore that. And then you have the outline color, which we'll make blue in this case. We do need to add a border, so we're going to add that. Board, say 4. So the board tag here is your tag for the outline. And then shad is your tag for the shadow. This will be an offset, say also 4. It'll be an offset towards the bottom right. If you want a different offsets, you can change them independently. So X shad will be the X displacements, and then Y shad, for example, if we wanted -4 instead. So that we have it going to the top right instead of the top bottom right. So either shad or X shad and Y shad. So those are 4 colors here. We can turn this one into, I don't know, what else do we have? Green. Okay. So those are your 4 colors. The number 2 in most cases is useless. So you can generally ignore that. Now, odd quirk about ASS here is that applying a blur, for those of you who don't work with this format, what do you think it does? If we apply a heavy blur here, you would probably think that it would blur the entire thing, but well, say blur 50, or new not so dramatic, blur 10, say, and we're left with the border and the shadow blurring, but not the inside. So this is something that you learn very quickly when working with this format, and that if you want things to blur, you have to make sure you separate them out into layers. So if we were to separate this out into layers, right, you make a layer with the fill, and then you make a layer on top, you make a layer on top of the fill with border 0 and shad 0. Alright, so disable the border and the shadow, and then we can apply our blur here, so blur 10. And then at the bottom, layer 0, so they're all stacked with the higher numbers being on top of lower numbers. So we have this lower layer here, which will contain our shadow and our border, which has that, and then your fill should be the same color as your border. So in this case, C is that, and then we can blur this to 10. Actually, high blur doesn't work too well, so there's a trick that you can use called the shad trick, in which case you have to duplicate this another time. Actually, let's leave the shad trick for another time, and we'll just make this a lower blur. So let's say blur 3. And blur 3. It looks a lot more reasonably blurred in this case. So that's one of the fundamentals about typesetting with this format, is that you have to split things up into layers, and that is exactly what we're going to have to do here. So this fill here, this outline here, and possibly also this this shadow down here, although that's not strictly necessary because we can put it on the bottom layer with an actual shadow. But so we're going to have 2, maybe 3 layers. And so yeah, we have our 2 layers here. No, we don't have those 2 layers there. We're gonna go back to this one here. So this one is our fill. That's going to get layer 1, and then here behind it we're going to use this this layer green. We're going to take that from GIMP as well. In this case, radius 1, because we only have about one pixel to work with. And then we're going to add this as a border. Let's say 2 is probably sufficient to start, then we can figure it out later if we need to adjust. Then we're going to have this, what did I change? I might have changed, I don't think I changed anything. Actually no, I think I changed the fill. But we don't want the border color to be changed there, so we do third button over here. Fill that in. Press OK, and then now we get the border like that. Now it's looking a lot closer to what we have here. We may want to bold this a little bit, so we want to use the bold version of the font instead of the regular version of the font. And so that looks a little bit closer to the original, and maybe we'll increase the border a little bit too. Maybe make it 3 instead of 2, and then in terms of blur, this is probably fine. I think it might be a bit much, just slightly, so we might want to decrease this just a tiny bit to maybe 0.4, 0.5. Typesetting involves a lot of this very small changes. And so we have that, and then we can do the with GUR part, which we may end up having to split off later, but at least for now we can get the colors right, and then we can deal with the shadow afterwards as well. This all looks like probably the same shadow, or almost the same shadow drop distance. So we might be able to get away with just having one shadow. But we do the same thing. We do our color picking right here. An average of a little bit more than 1. Right in the middle, right there. Should give us a good color. And then we can have it here. Put this in there. And then also for the border. And then we're going to, actually no, sorry, this is the fill. So we actually need this on the other layer. We want this on the fill layer. A lot of the you'll find a lot of the typesetters, they don't really comment their code because this is effectively code. So I like to use the effect field here for commenting here, just so we can see it here. Let's call that melon splitting. And so we have this here. Normally, actually, I just type it out if I already have the, well, in this case, I already have the override, so we just do that. So we have this here. That's wrong too, hold up. We want it on this layer over here. And do that. So that is the correct blue that we want. And then we will take the light blue that's over here. We'll sample that right here. And then we put that on the bottom layer. The with Gura parts, so the border here. Take this, and then also fill for good measure. Take that, and then now we have this light here. One thing we do notice though is that the with Gura part, or sorry, with in this case the Chan and then Tol, which corresponds with our width here, should not get a border. So we only have a border. So that we can actually leave there. Board 0 on over here. But then we can put the border back here, board 3. So now we have something that looks fairly similar. So we have melon splitting here. It could use a gradient. We will deal with gradients in a bit. But in terms of closeness, we have Gura with this outline here, and then the width without the outline. And then we have the melon splitting with the greens. And then we just need the shadow. So in our case, you always want to make sure that you use a color picker. You can assume that this is white, but then you might assume wrong, and this actually ends up being a little bit off-white. So you always want to use a color picker on these things, just to make sure you have the correct color. The best place is probably this here. So you notice that this is not a bunch of Fs. If this were pure white, then this would be a bunch of Fs, but it isn't. It's pretty similar here. It's actually bluer down here. So we'll take this. We'll take this. This is as close as we can get to white. And then we'll add a shadow on the bottom layer. In this case, I think this is a Y shad of 5. We can call it 5. Oh, actually no. Hold up. Now this is interesting. We're gonna have to make a separate shadow layer, because you notice how this the shadow here at the bottom does not include this border here. So this is actually only the fill. We're gonna have another layer that's dedicated just for the shadow. So we're gonna have to move all these up by 1. Then we're gonna have to disable the border, the board 0, and we said Y shad as 5, maybe 6, maybe 5. Let's say 5. I'll get rid of the border over here too. Maybe more than 5. Maybe 7. And then we have our shadow color, which is what we copied from GIMP, this off-white. Maybe we want a little bit more. Shadow 12. 10. 9. Let's go 9. So it kind of looks like that. Yes. We'll go back to 8. There's something that's not quite right here, and maybe it's because we shouldn't be using bolds. I think I did want those as semi-bolds. I'm gonna go back to the fonts and just use those as semi-bold. That's not quite right. Go back. We're just gonna have to fix this manually. In this case, those are semi-bold here, and then just get rid of the bold here. Because as long as it matches the font name, you don't necessarily need the bold portion. That's a little bit more comfortable, just a tiny bit. Okay, maybe less shad here. And then for performance reasons, we're going to do KO here. That gets rid of the border and shadow. It's part of the Chad trick, but I'm not getting to that right now. And then here we have the alpha, just to make sure that we indeed do hide the top layers. So here we're only expressing the shadow and none of the top layers. So we're gonna we hide this, right? And then we're seeing this here, and we want to hide the top layer as well. So now we're only left with the shadow, which we've made white, or this off-white, and then on top we add the border, and then on top of that we add the fill. And so now we have something that looks like that. The way you think about typesetting is kind of like painting. You figure out what kind of layers, what you need to put in at the bottom, and then you work your way up from there. So there's a common way that a lot of new typesetters think is that they have to do it all at once, and think about the whole thing at once, and how do you make it look like this. But really, what you want to do is think about it in parts. And so in this case here, we broke it down to, this is the fill, this is the outline, this is the shadow, and we want to make sure that we have a layer for each of those. So now we can make this look a little bit better. Is this actually vertical? I think that is vertical. Yeah, that's all just vertical. Maybe we want this a little bit more. I keep saying this. But I don't think it should be that far down. This seems somewhat comfortable. Okay, so now we can make this look a little bit more fun. We're going to duplicate all... Oh, that's not what I wanted. Wrong shortcut. And that's going to crash Aegisub. And I didn't save. Always save your work. Okay, well, thankfully Aegisub does autosave. So we can probably recover from autosave. Open autosave. This one. Video recents, this one. Where's the video? Okay, so now we're actually going to save this. Not here. Save this one as Seishun Archive signs, or TS. We'll call TS. Because we're going to be doing our karaoke effects in a separate file. Okay, if we're taking this long with this sign, then we might actually end up taking a lot more for some of the other signs. This might actually end up being a proper series. Okay, so as I said, we're going to make this a little bit more fun. So we're going to duplicate this, and then get rid of the with Gura in one part. And then we're going to get rid of the melon splitting in the other part. And then also get rid of the, like merge this. Oh, I'm a little confused what happened here. Board 0, board 0. Is this correct? Oh, wait a minute, it didn't save. It didn't save the. Yes, that's the one that we did. Yeah, we only had it 9. Okay, so we're gonna redo that. Board 0. So board 0 here is actually redundant. We don't need that. But we are going to get rid of the with Gura portion for this one. And we're also going to get rid of it over here. And then we're going to get rid of it over here. And then we're going to move this entire thing. So here we have the move tool. We're going to move this, all the selected ones, all the way over here so that it's out of the way. And then we're going to get rid of the melon splitting portion. And then figure out how to merge this. So we don't need this 3C. Or we don't need the C here. Because we are taking care of that over here. And we're board 0 as well. So now we have the with Gura somewhere. Get rid of the melon splitting again. Get rid of the 3C. Get rid of the C over here. 1C, by the way, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4 for the fill, alternate, border, and shadow. 1C does work, but just regular C also works. And then do the same thing as well over here. Get rid of melon splitting. Keep the with Gura. And apparently that's all we have here. Right. So now we got to figure out where this went. Ah. So I did this wrong. I see. I had accidentally split by time instead of duplicating this. We want to duplicate instead. So this I have to make sure that it stays over here. And then we have this here, make sure that everything shows up in the current frame. I'm not exactly sure how we want to do this. Because we don't want it to be too far apart. But we do want to have a little bit of fun with it. And I don't want to break this up so that it all ends up with... So you notice here that all the letters are misaligned. And the way you could do that over here is to break this up so that each letter is on its own event. I'm too lazy to do that. I don't want to do that. So I think this here might be okay for the most part. I'm going back on this. This is too far. 6, 7, maybe 7. That are 9. Yeah, that's probably fine. Now, could it be larger? Probably. So we can increase this here to something else. I'm going to use a script here called Hydra. It is a script you can download from Unanimated. Aegisub has this unofficial plugins manager called Dependency Control. I can find it in here, where you can install a bunch of scripts. They're all hosted on GitHub, which reminds me GitHub is down right now, so I don't know if this is going to work. But you have all of these scripts available for you here to install if you still want to. And the vast majority of them are pretty useful. There is one person in particular called Unanimated, and a long time ago, I think this was back in, this would have been about 10 years ago now, at least 15 years ago maybe. He made a bunch of scripts for Aegisub, and it's become part of the typesetters toolbox ever since. The typesetters have been wanting to get rid of this and rewrite it. One, because it's old, but two, because of UIs like this. It takes a bit of getting used to get around something like this. So what we are interested in, over 10 years, yeah, it's been a time for sure, indeed. What we're interested in here is FS. Actually, we're going to try to play around with this a little bit first before we commit to something. So we're going to do FS, let's say what, 40? Not 40. What are we at right now? We're at 48 right now. So we might want to consider something like 80, 70. 70 feels like it's more in line with what we have here. Maybe 60, because we do want it more as a subtitle, rather than something that competes with the main title. So let's go with 60. And what we can do with Hydra is that we can apply that to all of the selected lines at once. So we can check FS here because that's what we want to apply, and then we can put in 60 here because that's the value we want to put in. And then we press this apply button, and it applies it to all of the lines that we have here. And in that case, this is now too small, and I think we might have to go to 9. Okay, so we're going to move this. We're going to put that over here. Put that over there. So honestly, so I will finish that thought in a bit. Position this in a way that's a little bit more. So this does require a bit of an eye for design, because that is what you're doing here. You're effectively designing, so you have to keep in mind balance of text and balance of shapes. And so with this melon here, right, it's very heavy on the right side, so you want to offset it with some weight on the left side. But also you don't want too much space here, because then you run into kerning issues. Well, I mean, it's not strictly kerning, but close enough. We may actually want to add a little bit of space here so that we have some space. Or actually, we split out the width entirely. That might be a good idea. We're going to duplicate that as well. Get rid of the Gura part. And then here we get rid of the width part. And then we can now manipulate width by itself. Let me move Gura out of the way first. Okay, something disappeared here. I think I need board 3 again for this one. Actually, for this size, we might actually want board 4. Yeah, let's do board 4. And then just careful positioning, make sure that all our spaces are all even. And then, you know, fill the space. Gura, I think, can be a little bit more on the right side. And then that means that width goes a little bit more on the right too. You know what? I don't know. At some point you just kind of deal with it. It's not going to come out perfect. I think it was better earlier, to be honest. Yeah, a lot of typesetting is just all these very small minor adjustments. But yeah, that compared to this, honestly, I think I might consider something like that. Maybe with a different color. But to me, this actually looks cleaner. Where you have a very simple sign that just offsets the original. Let me go back to 7. Although we do, if we were to do this, and I think I would want to pick, say, this color down here, the pants, just so we don't have a black. It says off black. Semi-bold. Yeah. So really, if I were to typeset this, I would actually heavily consider this here, because it complements the title well. And even though it doesn't look like the original title, it still looks like it's part of the same logo. In my opinion, anyway. So I would actually consider doing that. But if we were to go with something that matches a little bit better, something still feels a little bit off about this. And part of it is because we don't have the gradient. So the gradient here will help. Actually, looking back at this, I think once again, 9 is a bit too much. Actually, no. It's 9 is here. 9 here is fine. Yes, the board here might be a bit too much. So maybe we drop this down to a 2, or just a 3. 2 is a little bit too little. 3 is okay. We had 3 earlier. I put it up to a 4. 3. And these are actually not outlines, these are shadows. So, I mean, this is fine. It's passable. If you were to do a little bit more... Actually, hold on. There's something we could actually improve here. If we... There's another tag here called FSP, font spacing. We make this, say, 4? Not 4. Font spacing controls the spacing between the letters. So we can make this feel a little bit wider by adding a bit more space in between. But sometimes that messes with the kerning. It makes things look bad. And I think it makes it look bad in this case too. Okay. So maybe that'll be fine. Really, if we were to do this more elegantly, we would actually go ahead and put all these, make all these letters individual, and then split them. Maybe we actually can do that. And split them and rearrange them so that they're a little bit more, they're a little bit less aligned. So I think we might actually be able to do that. There is a script also by Unanimated called Necroscopy, which has a split letters function, which allows us to do this. Now, unfortunately, that means that now we have a whole ton of stuff here. I'm going to sort this by... Good question. Sort by what? Sort by text, script text, strip text. So this should give us it's not what I wanted. That's sorted. Okay, no, that kind of was what I wanted, but also it moved all the stuff in places where I don't want it to. Like, it messed up with the order. Surely there's a way to do this. By their effects? No, it's already sorted by effect. By actor name, they're all the same. Style name, they're all the same. Everything's the same except for the strip text, which gets me what I want, except they're all out of order. That one's at the end, so we can just, I guess we can just manually reorder these. That's no fun now. We do it anyway. Find the R's. If any of you know a better way to do this, let me know, because manual labor is not nice. So that's all Gura there. Width. We have a bunch of T's here. It could be anywhere. So there's our front there, and then we have this T here. Where's the H? So they're all alphabetical order. Don't delete those lines. And then the last set of eyes should be the ones here. We could probably just use the shad trick, couldn't we? No, that's fine. We're already too far in. Sunk cost fallacy. So there's a way to use the shad trick here, in which use the shadow to do the positioning instead of actual pause, which is an option. It would be an option, but I think we're already... No, we're nowhere close halfway. But also, do I really care about the order that this is in? Not really. I kind of... No, I do kind of care. Because I need to know which ones go with which. But as long as I know which one goes with which, I think it should be. Okay, one of the things I don't really like to do is manual placements of letters. So I might end up reverting this. Or else. Because if you have to do things manually, it means that... Oh no, this is all interspersed too. If you have to do things manually, it means that you have to do all the kerning yourself, which I do not want to do. We're reverting this. And just undo until we get somewhere. And we're out of undo space. Okay. Unfortunate. I should have saved it. We have autosaves. Surely that would have been in the last minute or so. Gonna wait for the next Aegisub to show up. Open autosaves. Probably around here. No, this was already split. Okay. Probably around here. Alright, what does this look like? You know, I think that's probably close enough. This was board 3 at FS60. Yeah, I think this one's close enough to up to date. So we're gonna get rid of this. I did not realize Aegisub had limited undos, a limited history stack, which I think might be configurable. We can probably increase that to something fairly large. Probably. Undo levels 50. Can we go at 100? Yeah, so then we just go back to spacing this out. Want it roughly there, want it roughly here. Yeah, maybe somewhere in the middle. Maybe shrink this distance a little bit. Maybe shrink this distance too. And maybe over there. That's probably okay. Alright, let's view that at 100%. And it's doesn't have enough blur. 0.6, I think we had it at earlier. Maybe 0.7. One of the things you'll get from QC, the quality checker, who goes and checks your work afterwards before the release. You get a lot of comments saying needs more blur. Okay, and then the Gura, this one needed a border too. We had that at 3. Board 0 on that one, but board 3 on this one. Yeah, so in terms of that, that's probably fine. And then we had the fill. We have this, and notice that we have a slight gradient here, and so we can implement that gradient there. We go back to GIMP, and then go here, we sample the top. Put that in for the this one. I don't know. This one's the autosave. Make sure we don't do that. Okay. So then this one and this one. We want the top one to have this color here from the top, the darker one. And then we want the bottom one to have this color here from the bottom. And then we select the two and go over here to automation. There is a script from Liger doing gradient everything, which will, in this case, we'll probably want 2 pixels per strip. This will create a gradient across these 2 lines horizontally with the C, so the fill, and it'll do it based on the 2 lines here, so from the top to the bottom. And so there we are, we have a bunch of lines here, which unfortunately is kind of what you have to do if you have a gradient. But there you go, now we have a, wait a minute, no, that's the wrong way. We need a vertical, not horizontal. Vertical, please. Actually, can we get away with 5 pixels per strip? Let's see what that does. We might be able to get away with that. Because sometimes if your strip size is too large, you'll notice banding. But for something this small, I think it might be okay. So if we hide all the other layers and then see what we have here, and then we successively fill them in. Right, you see that we're getting strips just going down, and each of them are a slightly different color. And so adding that gradient here does give us more depth, and it does make it look more like the original. And so it looks a little bit less. It looks a little bit less like we just plopped it in. It's still not great because we don't have the dynamic positioning that this does. We do have a little bit. We do have it a little bit with the words, which I guess is fine enough. So yeah, in terms of how you would typeset, in terms of this sign, if we were typesetting it to make it look like the title, this would probably do. And then if we had the original or the other one, and we have this. I still think I prefer this one, but both are fairly valid, I think. So we're going to keep this one just so that we have at least one traditional sign to work with. And so this one is melon splitting. Usually I have a comment here, and then some sort of marker here to say that this is like a navigation point. And then this is what we actually have. Okay, so that's sign 1 done. the nice thing about ASS being in a text-based format is you can commit, or rather you can put it into Git, so you have version track, which we will do right now once I find the folder. Alright, so I already have a Git repo set up here. And then we can do git add Seishun Archive, yes. Add melon splitting with Bura side. In 2 potential styles. Okay. There's a lot of typesetters and a lot of subbers who don't work with Git, but I find it useful to just so that we have a save point. It's very easy to mess up, and as we saw earlier, Aegisub apparently only has 50 history slots by default. So if you did more changes than that, then good luck getting your stuff back. Where are we at now? We're at 2.5 hours. I think we can go on for a little bit longer. Let's at least finish the signs on this scene here. And so now we get into masking. So once again, we're going to start with our mask. And we're going to take an average of this white area here. Actually, we'll start with this one because I think this one's a little bit easier. We're going to take a white area here. Notice how it's not completely white. It's just a tiny bit off white. And that makes all the difference here. I will show what that looks like in a bit. So we're going to add another marker here. This will be this one is chat. We're actually gonna have to come up with stuff here. We can do a straight translation, or we can make stuff up. Probably gonna do something in between. So we have that, and then we have it's here. We change this to the mask, and then we create a rectangle. One thing that I tend to do here is there's no shape tool in Aegisub. There kind of is. There's this thing called so I don't remember what that shape thing that nobody uses is called. Draw? Yeah, that's what it was. Where you can kind of make shapes. I don't think I have it installed here. But also, everyone also just uses clips instead. Or rather, abuses the clip tool. So, you want to make a clip that encompasses the entire thing. All the text that you want to mask out. To be safest, you should be trying to clip out close to the edges here, so that you minimize any the look of any potential seams that might be there. But I'm going to exaggerate a little bit. Actually, FA is pretty close to FF, so you might not be able to see the difference. But we'll start with this here. So we have a clip on this line, and then there is another automation here. We go to automations. I think there's another one by unanimated. Non-GUI macro converts clip to drawing. There's one in here somewhere. Yeah, from Hydra, convert clip to drawing. So now we have this here. We turn this into a drawing with the drawing here, the P. don't actually remember what P stands for. I don't know why it says why it's P. But anyway, P1 enables drawing mode so that the text inside is a bunch of drawing commands. So move the cursor to 72 and 769. That would be over here, and then straight line to this coordinate, then to this coordinate, and then to this coordinate. We can get rid of FXCX and FSCY. Those are scales in percentages. So if you leave them at 100, it's not going to scale. AN7 we already have as our default alignment, so we can get rid of that. Pause 00 is important for making sure that it isn't subject to collision detection. ASS being primarily a dialogue format, or rather, one of its uses is as a dialogue format. And one of the things that it does is, I can try to demonstrate that here. Get rid of this. We do AN2. I'll actually change this to default because default's kind of looks like that. And then we have another one that is going on at the same time. Change the text here. The renderer will try to place the subtitles if they are subject to collision detection. Try to place them in such a way that they don't overlap each other. And so that allows you to have more than one subtitle on at the same time. But that's not something you want for drawing, so you have to disable that. And the easiest way to disable that is by using pause, which disables, which puts the drawing in a very specific place and makes it no longer subject to collision detection. So this is our white rectangle here. And it's actually white. And you notice that because this is full white, we do see this border here. And this is why you don't assume things, because especially if you're going to be masking, well, I don't know how well you see it on your screen, but I do see it on my screen. Especially if you're going to be masking, you want to make sure that the color is actually correct and actually does match. So in this case, our off-white is FA. We're going to be using that here. And so now you see it blends in seamlessly because we're using the same color. Okay, so now we make something up. Actually, no, we have to find a font first. Can we just use the same font? Possibly. It looks like we can probably use the same font. So that'd be Dosis again. And then we can just add text. Go back to the sign style, get rid of this, and get rid of all of it actually. In this case, we would probably want AN7. So I can write text. Oh, actually. I forgot, we actually do have we do actually have some black text we can color pick. So we'll take this. Find a good place to color pick, so maybe over here. That's 2F. Again, because it's being masked, we don't have to get it exactly right. But this is close enough to its color, then I think we can do that. So we have this, and I don't know where this put it. Ah, it's up there. And so now we want to bring it down all the way over here. You can double click it. We want to shrink fonts. Actually, we want to use the correct font to begin with, and then we can want to shrink fonts. If we get rid of the mask, we can see what we have underneath. And then, actually, no, I don't think we need to shrink the font. This matches up pretty nicely. But I do want to know what it says, so we're going to translate on the fly. This says Uguda, which I think is an allusion to the fish. How do you translate that? I'm gonna say puffer for that one. Oshi. Okay, now we start doing translation work. Jisho is what I tend to use. Not this one. That one? Yes. Jisho is an online dictionary from Japanese to English. So in this case, I think it's saying too bad. And then this one out here is basically we can translate that to lol. Musaza. I don't know what that could be an allusion to, so we're just gonna leave that as is. Acha? Probably something like an oh no. I think we can probably make it as an oh no. Is there a better translation for that? Oops. I guess we'll go with that. Yeah, uh-oh, oops, drats. We can go with that. And then the next one, I do not know how to read this. That is where Google comes in. Copy this to clipboard, images. An easy way, if you go into Google Lens, you can copy an image here, and then you can get it to select this over here. Mr. E, how is it coming along? We haven't gotten very far. We have this sign here, which is fine. Yeah, it looks fine. We have an alternative, which is this, which in my opinion looks better. Looking at that in context, as opposed to this. This matches the original a little bit better. In terms of like colors and stuff, but in terms of overall composition, I think this is better suited. But we're leaving it with this just so that we have some more traditional typesetting there. And then now we're moving on to this text here. Maybe we should have done the hashtag first. But okay, we're already doing this one, so we're gonna keep going with this. And I think we're probably gonna end it at this frame for today. I didn't expect to be spending 2 hours on a single frame, but that's typesetting for you. They both look pretty good. All right, well, thanks. But yeah, as Light was saying earlier, you don't necessarily have to make it look the same, as long as it blends in. And I think the other one, the simpler one, does blend in as a sign. You can imagine somebody actually doing that if they were designing a sign like this. Alright, so I'm going to figure out what this name says. So I can copy this. And then put into Jisho. Copy. Another way you can do it is actually, yeah, this is fairly simple enough that I could probably have drawn it. Jisho does have a draw input, so you can put in your strokes using your mouse or your fingers if you're using a touchscreen. Or you can put in your radicals. This does take a little bit of hunting, but it is fairly precise. You have no eye for this. Yeah, it takes a bit of practice to really see how to do things like this. So, for example, with this one here, this could be improved a little bit by having more dynamic placements. So you notice how all these characters are not aligned, whereas melon splitting is one straight line. You could have a bit more variation in the vertical alignment of the letters here. We did a little bit of that by offsetting the words, but melon splitting, maybe if we split it over here actually, but I don't know, I can't be bothered with it. There's a point where something is good enough and you just move on. Otherwise you're going to spend forever on the one side and you're not going to get anything else done. Is there a pun here? Or is this a name? This can't be an actual name. Surely there's got to be some sort of pun here. Lawn. So this is lawn and then this is cloth. Like a mat of grass or something. What kind of chatter's name would you have for something like that? Do I speak Japanese? Not really. I know some. I had taken 2 classes in university. 2? 3? I think it was just 2. And then anything else I picked up on my own. So, for example, I think most of these messages I can kind of read. And you can figure out a lot of things by context too. This one I think I'd have to... oh, actually... No, okay, no. I can read all of the messages here. So this says... we translated that earlier. Too bad lol. Oh no. Just a little bit more... Something like that. And then it's cute. And then I want to go to the ocean or the sea or... However you want to translate that. But then we have all these names here, which chatter's names are not always the easiest to translate, but also you can just make something up. And I think we should probably go with the route of making things up, but I'm also not that creative. We're going to put in a placeholder because I don't want to bother with that yet. Just a little... And we're going to take a little bit of creative liberty to add some punctuation that isn't there. Because sometimes Japanese, the expressions... The expressions and punctuations don't always line up one-to-one. And we were saying this earlier, right? We were saying hi is not always yes, and in some cases it actually means no. So you have to take the context into account when doing translations. Actually, we can probably just get rid of that because we already have a lot of exclamation marks. I don't want to add too much. Again, a little bit more liberty here. Maybe just one. And then whatever E is going to say is people tend to call it ocean or the sea. People are too lazy to capitalize their eyes. We don't do that. To the beach. Yeah, okay, that's a better translation. Because they are on a beach. Okay, now we need to come up with names here. Ideally something that's close to their original translations, but not strictly necessary. Let me figure out what this says here. Dashi toru. So soup stock and then pick up. There's got to be some clever wording you can do with that. People have weird names like that, right? And then the other one. I don't know if any of you have any better ideas for these names, let me know. But if chat reflects the streamer, then perhaps you're all as uncreative as I am. But surely at least one of you, maybe not. Mizu what? Okay, we'll look at this in parts then. Sail. Is this a pun? Fresh young ears of rice. Spelled slightly differently. But also, it's a pun with sail. Are these all foods? Okay, if we take mu as a negative, what is sasa? Okay. Sure. And then we just got to figure out what to do with this one. I remember what this says. Where is this? This is over here. Right, this is the grass guy. Now the problem with this is sometimes that the kanji sometimes just doesn't mean anything, and it's just used for the sound. It's called ateji. At least I think it's called ateji. Ateji. Yeah. So this is where the kanji are used for their sounds and not necessarily for the meanings. But also we're masking this anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Okay, go back. I'm gonna call that guy Astro here. Okay, I think that is a fairly reasonable chat, probably. And then now we just gotta fit that into the box. So this is our mask here. And then we gotta fit this into the box. Somehow. This may mean shrinking this a little bit. So we're at FS 48 right now. We can go to FS 40 just to shrink things a little bit. And then we can break that line over there. And maybe add a couple of spaces. Maybe 4 spaces. Yeah, I mean I think that's passable. No, okay, so I didn't explain these ones before, but outside, so override tags take effect inside of the curly braces, but there are some tags that work outside. For example, \N, which is a hard line break, and then there's also \H, which is a hard space, which means it doesn't collapse. It doesn't collapse at the end or the beginning of the lines, whereas normal spaces would. And then there's also \n, which is sometimes a space and sometimes a new line, depending on the mode that you're in. Okay, so we have this as our indents. So I think this is probably fine in terms of chat. Maybe align this a tiny bit more to the center, vertical lines center. But otherwise, it's fine. Okay, so that's that for chat. There's an anime going on right now called VTuber Legend, and it has some pretty realistic translations for chat. Okay, so this is a complete sign, and we can go ahead and commit that. Yes, chats. Wait, this doesn't move, right? Go back to the original. It doesn't move. It better not move. But also, because we're masking it, it doesn't really matter. We can just pretend it doesn't move even if it did. So that should be fine. Now, in terms of chat display, normally for English subs, or English chat, you might get bold fonts. You might want to consider doing this for ours. Are you going to do the magazine she's holding? So the poster, thankfully, no, because this is actually all in English, except for this bit. But it has a translation underneath. So if we go back to the first time this shows up, all the way back here, we get the translation here, and then from there you can assume that the user has this image persisted in them, and then you can, and then everything else just like every time this shows up, then you just don't need to do it again. Actually, okay, there are two styles of typesetting. One is where you do it consistently, so that it's consistent every time, and I actually do prefer to do that. Where it's feasible, and then the other time is do it the first time and then let the viewer assume every other time. But all this down here is in English, and this has an English translation on it already, so we actually don't have to do anything here, thankfully, because things get incredibly annoying later on, like here where they try to hand out all the posters. All that movement is incredibly annoying. You don't want to do that. And also including this too, right? Yeah. All that distortion, no. Okay, I'm thinking that maybe this this bold here is probably a little bit too bold. Maybe we don't do that. But also we have the ability to specify the amount of boldness. Maybe just a little bit bolder than usual. The normal bold is, normal weight is 400, regular bold is 700. So anything in between that is just a little bit more bold. How would you animate movements like that? The ASS format does have some animation support, but it's fairly rudimentary. It's either all linear, or there are certain, you can't really do too much distortion. So generally what you want to do with that, if you were to typeset this, for example, is to go into every frame and change it up every frame. That's what's called frame by frame. Or FBF for short. It's necessary because the way that things get distorted. There's really no other way to do it, and it's a massive pain to do it. And that's why signs and typesetting takes so long, because all these little details they have to go over and over again, just for a single frame. I can see how that wouldn't be fun. Yeah, I mean, it depends on the kind of person you are. Some people will like rote work, and some people like the satisfaction that comes with the like the results at the end, because it does look nice if you actually do put work into it. But the process definitely can be a bit of a pain to go through. Okay, I think that's just the right enough amount of bold. Just slightly more bold so that we can see that this is a name, and then this is the chat. Or we can try 600 actually. 500s with 600s. Do not skip override tag, just select it. Place all. Does that draw attention too much? I think I prefer 500. Okay, we'll keep it there. But yeah, this is why, to keep yourself sane, you want to try to cut corners where you can. But you only want to cut corners where it doesn't compromise, right? You still want something that's high quality. Like, for example, like this one. We cut the corner here in that we were only doing dynamic positioning by word. But although again, we can probably split this over here, instead of by letter like this does. Or if we tried the other way, with the other style, that would have cut out a lot of work that we wouldn't have to do here, because it would be just a single piece of text. Okay, yeah, so that's done for that one. I'm just gonna amend that commit there. And then lastly, we can go ahead and do this hashtag here. So what does it say? Tokino Sora something. I think that's travel. Oh, no, that can't be travel. No, that's not even the right one. Okay, never mind. By the way, for those of you who've been here since the beginning, thanks for sticking around. I know typesetting can be a bit of a drag sometimes. But at the same time, I don't think any other VTuber has done for typesetting on stream, so breaking through barriers here. Live broadcast. Oh, this is her live tag, right? Okay, so we can actually just figure out what this is. I think it's Sora Live. Tokino Sora. And these would be her hashtags in here. The nice thing about these tying into real, like real stuff, it means you can look stuff up. Stream tags. There's no official one. No official English one. I'm pretty sure it's Sora Live is the Twitter.com hashtag Sora Live. We'll see if anyone else has put anything in there. That's not Tokyo Sora. So this is one where I'm a little bit torn on whether I should translate this or not, because it is a hashtag. It's a real hashtag that's being used, and I don't know if there's an official translation. I don't think I see one here. Another problem is that I don't think anyone in the Western world is tweeting out Sora, so good luck finding English tweets. I mean, just as we say, there's one here. But also, understandably, they're using the Japanese one. I think we can probably call it does anyone else? Pokino Sora stream live stream. I think nobody uses this. All right. Well, so this is a translation choice. Whether you keep it as is or you translate it to something that doesn't exist. And in this case, I think for the sake of the typesetting exercise, we're going to translate it. So, similar thing. I think we're going to use the same font. Actually, no, this looks like it would be a different font. So we zoom in here. It means we're going to have to go and find the fonts. The corners, the ends of these strokes are square. Whereas in the other two, they were more round. We're going to have to find another font. I think Deja Vu Sans is probably good enough. Okay, but over here, we can do the same thing again. Take this. Let's get rid of the entire thing, actually. Create a clip that encompasses the entire thing. And then turn that, go to automation, unanimated, non-GUI macros, and clip to drawing. Pretty sure I had a hotkey set to this. Oh, what did I just press? Maybe I don't have a hotkey set to that. And then now we figure out the right color, because I don't know if you can see this here, but as before, we have a color mismatch. So you can't just leave it like that. You do have to figure out what color is actually being put in here. I think it's the same FA that we got earlier. And then we add that to here. And then now it's fairly seamless. Okay, now we add the text back. Oh, no, don't do that. And I'm gonna, we have the hashtag Tokino for live stream. And we'll font size that up to about 60, probably. Make this AN5. Actually, leave it at defaults. Put that in the middle. And then change the fonts. Oh, actually, you know what? I forgot. I think actually we need to add a bit of blur to this one. Because you always want to make sure you have blur. Something like blur 0.5 is probably good enough for this one. Definitely not that much. 0.6 I think is what we had on the other one. This is 0.6 is probably fine. That'll blend in. That'll blend in okay. And then get rid of the hashtag portions. And then just amend that. Okay. Then we deal with this. We want a different font. We're going to preemptively blur 0.6 because it should be all the same. And then I said Deja Vu Sans is probably going to be good enough. That looks a little bit too default, I think. So maybe not that one. Maybe if we bold it, it's not gonna look too default. Okay, no, I gotta find a different font. That's not gonna work. So if we're looking at, no, go back. We're looking at this, and again, because it's masked, we don't have to match this exactly, but it would be nice if we can find something that's close enough. So we're looking for a sans serif font that has squarish corners, and any generic sans serif should work. but it shouldn't look too default. If any of you have any suggestions, let me know. Otherwise, we're going to go through this list here and try to find something. Cairo. No. Maybe. Maybe not. Gothic might work. Now 60 is fine. You may want to add a little bit of stretching on the vertical side for this one. So we can do that with FSCY. Let's say 110, 120, 30. If you stretch it too much, it's going to look too weird. So maybe not too much, but a little bit is okay. Maybe 110 is probably fine. Okay. Well, I think I'm probably gonna leave it at that because that looks fine to me. I don't know how I feel about translating this hashtag because nobody uses this, but in terms of typesetting exercise, this is more or less what you want. So yeah. Subtracting the 1 hour we spent looking at typeset signs as examples, we spent 2 hours on this one frame, and this is all very basic stuff too. So that either means that I'm out of practice, which I probably am, or I spent a lot of time explaining, which I probably did as well. Okay, but I think this is good, and we'll just post this over in Discord so we have a reference here. Once again, for those of you who are not in Discord, feel free to join there. We've got, well, we don't actually have a fansubbing channel in there, but we do have other things. How much of this have you done in the past? I have been working with Aegisub for, how long has it been now? I think I started making memes. So I primarily use Aegisub for memes. And some of the higher quality memes, you tend to do stuff like this. I've been doing that kind of stuff since, when was it? It's probably 5 years ago, maybe. I think I'm approaching 5 years. So yeah, it's been a while. And there have been a lot of improvements in the scene since then. And actually, so that's why I'm connected in the fansubbing circles. It's not necessarily for fansubbing, but because I use their tools. And actually, it was through the fansubbing circles that I got into VTubing, or I got into VTubers, and then that led to me VTubing. So I do have them to thank for this. And then you have them to thank for me being here, I guess. So we're going to make a thing here to do this. So I'm going to change this to that, so that we have the same one there. Actually, I don't know how I feel about that, because I do feel like it's very subtle. It's very subtle. But I feel like the lighter one actually works better. I'm going to go with the lighter one. Okay, so then we can go ahead, get status, get diff. What did I change here? Why are there so many changes? I don't remember making those changes. Oh, because I commented them out, that's right. I commented them out so that I can take its screenshots. And so I can post that in the Discord. And then also to Twitter later. Right, but we want to go with this one. It's, I don't know if you can actually read this, but this is TS hashtag. Tokino Sora hashtag. Hashtag was translated even though the tag does tag translation does not exist. Or the exercise. And then wrap that, put that there. I think the rest of that should be fine. Yeah. Okay. Then in that case, that is that. We have done one frame, but this one frame does extend for a while. For that long. Okay, I think that's it. Next stream. I realized I forgot to prep over here, so I'm gonna prep that real quick here. What is the next stream? Actually, I need to show in the browser because I do have a browser here. penbu.ca/schedule is where I keep my schedule. If I can spell it correctly. And if you didn't know, these are all clickable. So I can click on here to get to my next stream, which will be Mahjong, because I got to keep my Tenho account alive, and it's been 139 days as of tomorrow. And they expire at 180 days. So we've got a bit of time, but it is starting to creep up there a little bit. So this will be on both Twitch and YouTube. Did I have the Twitch set up here? Maybe not. Doesn't matter. YouTube's my main platform anyway. So if you're here, then it means you can probably also be here on YouTube if you plan to watch tomorrow. Mr. E, are you going to do this whole video? That is the plan. So we got a lot of signs to typesets. This one, we just started with the easiest one, or the most typical one rather. And then, so for example, we have this. It's going to be a bit annoying. We have that. It's going to be pretty annoying too. You know, surprisingly for a fairly, I don't know what adjective to say about this. at first glance, it doesn't feel like there's a lot of signs, but then you dig into it and there are a bunch of signs. So there's a lot of typesetting involved, and some of them are going to be much more annoying than others, especially Ankumo here, where we're going to replace his name tag because, you know, that's in Japanese and we can translate that. But also he moves around a lot, so that's going to be plenty annoying. And then at the end, we're going to cap it off with doing some karaoke on it, because this is a song. This is a song, and it would be best if we had some karaoke effects on it. So at the end of the series, we're going to get some karaoke, and then by then, starting to look at this, maybe this is going to take like 8 streams, which is good for me, I guess, because it means that I get a lot more content. But yeah, we've got a lot of work ahead of us to do fansub for the entire thing. But it'll be good. It'll be good. But yeah, in the meantime, tomorrow we're going to be playing Mahjong. Playing on Tenho. For those of you unaware, this is Japanese Mahjong. Just get rid of this alpha here. This is Japanese Mahjong. And the alpha comes back. Do you mind? Okay. Yeah, so this is Japanese Mahjong. If you come and you don't know how to play, ask questions, because I can and will probably explain during the game. Alright, my throat is almost dead. So I'm probably going to end it here. Once again, if you're not in the Discord, this is the link. Feel free to join us. We might have a... I don't know, I'll have to think about whether we want to have a fan subbing... or rather a subbing channel in there, but in the meantime, that kind of discussion can go in general. Bella, welcome in. I assume you've been lurking, but yes, thank you for the good night, and have a good night yourself. I've watched a lot of VTubers playing, I still don't understand. Well, perhaps this one is the one you'll understand then. But yeah, okay, my throat is dead. I should get going. Thanks you all for coming, and we'll see you next stream. Good night.